And that's going to be the challenge.
Thank you, Andrew. President Aznar, returning to you. Matthew has talked about decreasing investment in Africa that's already taken place and the need to refocus on that. But Matthew has said that a number of institutions, philanthropic or otherwise, are now putting sustainability at the new core and the new center of their model. You were an advisor to a wonderful initiative, a very tangible and concrete institution known as One Laptop Per Child, which I'm sure many people here today are familiar with. How will such organizations with a niche advantage in services and delivery, how will they grow and get the support that they need in the post-crisis sort of world?
Well, I think that to promote a very strong social initiatives and free initiatives in the society is a good policy. And I believe that the most important, the most stronger countries in the world are the countries that the civil society is large, very strong. There's a lot of institutions based on the private initiative that support a lot of initiatives in the society. This is extremely, extremely important. This is one of the reasons because I believe that both pillars in a good policy is education and institutions. If you obtain a good result between the mix of education and institutions, the result will be very good for the society, very well for the society. One laptop for child is an initiative of my good friend Nicolas Negroponte, very important initiative, and we walking again among difficulties. But we continue to imagine that it's possible, especially for the poor countries, especially for the countries in Africa, some countries in Latin America, to be capable to understand the possibility, important possibility that this organization and this idea of one laptop per child present for them. Another question is that establish a very strong relation between institution and education is a very good policy. I try to do this in my time of government. I think with good results for my country and for the cooperation for my country in different parts of the world.
Thank you very much. Congressman Crowley, you've traveled widely in the Middle East and in South Asia, and you've seen how successful grassroots initiatives can be in promoting liberalization, access to services, and so forth. But you've also seen the stifling nature of corruption in some of the harshest regimes in the world. And you serve in the House International Relations Committee, and you talked in the opening remarks about the likelihood of increasing aid, which is a very positive sign. But how is the U.S. going to improve the way in which conditionality is dealt with in this aid? And can you talk specifically about some of the countries that you've been in over the years, whether it's Egypt or Pakistan or other places?
Thank you. I think one of the things that I look for in a country in terms of its progress is child survival and the rate of child survival and life expectancy across the board. And I think in many of the developing countries today, they're not seeing life increase but decrease in terms of the extent and the quality thereof. I think that in my experience in countries like Malawi in Africa and Bangladesh, for instance, and I know Dr. Yunus will be here today at some point, I'm told as well. The direct impact of the Grameen Bank in terms of the sort of getting around all this and getting directly to the people and helping has really helped in child survival because you've helped the mother become a more viable part of the economy of that country, and more importantly, and a more viable part of the economy of the family structure within those societies, where in the past that wasn't necessarily the case, where the importance of the health, the importance of the survival of that person has now taken on more significance and more meaning. I think that I'd like to see more of that take place. Part of the problem that we deal with, and especially with the Millennium Challenge accounts, for instance, is that we have criteria, and I understand the reason for the criteria because I believe in that as well. I think we have to see some standards met and achieved and go beyond that. One in particular that I've always kind of grappled with is the issue of corruption. And I'll use Bangladesh as an example. I've done a lot of work in Bangladesh. Bangladesh has continued to be one of the most corrupt countries in the world in terms of government. It's really systemic. It's from the top to the bottom, bottom to the top. And I don't want to overly beat up on them now because they have a new government and I think they're trying to do some good things here. But because of the level of corruption, they've been ineligible for Millennium Challenge account money. So the money that would help them move towards a more freer and open society, less corrupt, they're stymied because they are corrupt in the first place. So it's kind of a catch-22 that we continue to work with. I think that we have a lot of issues at hand. I look at those statistics, child survival and mortality, what we're doing in those countries for women, because I think that is so critical in terms of helping moving those countries forward, and across the board, the life expectancy.
Thank you so much. Mary, but prior to the financial crisis, foreign investment, charitable giving, and NGO work overseas had begun to overtake overseas development assistance, official government assistance, as a primary source of funds for development work around the world. Moving forward, what will be the new priorities, or how can these issues remain on the agenda for foundations and for donors and philanthropists and so forth?
Well, I think it's a good news, bad news story. I think that the bad news is that the foundations and the endowments of the world, in their quest to generate higher returns and have the, if you will, the David Swensen Yale model of a lot of alternative investments, timber, hedge funds, private equity, in an effort to ramp up to get there, because they were behind the curve, they had to over-allocate to those illiquid asset classes. And as you over-allocate to those, and then the liquid asset classes fall by 40% over the course of 3 months, you find yourself in a bit of a pickle. And
the
then,
illiquid ones fell too, but nobody
but we
paid
don't know that
attention.
yet,
Exactly.
right? Yes, we haven't gotten to the mark-to-market issues yet. So you've got, half of the portfolio has fallen by 40%. The other half is overcommitted just to try and get a ramp up, and that has yet to come down in terms of mark-to-market. So you've got a real problem in the world of foundations and endowments, and the giving. The giving that has already been committed will continue, but new giving is going to be a real problem. The good news is that giving is 85% individuals, not foundations and endowments. And believe it or not, individuals are still giving. They're still giving, and they're giving even more to the causes that they feel are most in need. At JP Morgan, the JP Morgan Foundation gives $100 million a year away, roughly every year. We generally give it to community, education, and the arts. So where are we not giving as much this year? Clearly, the arts is the first to go, and you really focus on health and human services first, education second. And so you see where the areas of weakness are. I would note, though, however, I was shocked. Last week I'm also on the board of UNICEF, and we had an event in Chicago on Saturday night, and it was the largest fundraiser UNICEF has ever had, all by individuals. So back to the causes of where we are most in need, the multiplier effect of the dollars today is even greater because there's not the sloshing around and the unnecessary giving. So I think you will see people rise to the occasion and make sure that the dollars get to where they need to get to.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mary.